issues which resulted in the fall. He says the construction workers have been identified as South Africans with some Lesotho nationals. Morero says an inquest docket will be opened with police to fully probe the incident. Once the cause of the collapse has been established, the city intends to demolish the building and charge the owner accordingly. Rescuers are currently working to extract the body of the last construction worker trapped under the rubble. Joburg EMS spokesperson Olile Khumalo.
The building involved is in clear violation of city bylaws as due process was not followed in its construction. The city does not have official record of approval and building plans were not submitted for review.
The Deputy Minister of Labour, Jomo Sibiya, has arrived on scene and will later brief the media. Relebogile Mabotja, Eyewitness News on Monday.
Deputy National Police Commissioner Tibelo Mosikidi says she was surprised and shocked to learn of the disbandment of the Political Killings Task Team in the news. At the time of that disbandment, she was acting National Police Commissioner. Mosikidi is testifying before Parliament's ad hoc committee, which is probing allegations of police corruption. She is being questioned on the implementation of the directive by Police Minister Senzo Mchunu on the disbandment of the PKTT. Mosikidi says there was no discussion between herself and the minister about the disbandment.
At no stage was the mention of PKTT or any attempts to have any directive on PKTT, neither from the minister nor from the National Commissioner. I think my direct commander is the National Commissioner. At the time, National Commissioner did not mention anything in relation to the PKTT.
The DA has urged Gauteng residents to use their vote to ensure changes are made in the delivery of services. The call comes as the province continues to struggle with water supply challenges. This morning, the party unveiled a new billboard which takes a swipe at the recent hotel comments of Gauteng Premier Panyaza Lesufi. The billboard was unveiled in Pretoria and reads, "The ANC showers in hotels and vote the DA to put water in your taps." Lesufi came under fire last month when he said he was forced to take a shower at a hotel due to the ongoing water crisis in Gauteng. Lesufi has since apologized for his comments, but the DA says his remarks point to how the ANC has lost touch with citizens. DA Gauteng leader Solim Simang says residents must vote different in order to see change.
We are saying to the people of Gauteng, we are saying to the people of South Africa, you can continue doing some of the same, but it will end up in tears. We are seeing the deterioration right now. We were struggling with electricity. We had to struggle with electricity for almost 15, 16 years. And we had said we are going to have the same problem with water unless there's something that it gets to be done.
The bail application of the son of late former Zimbabwean President Robert Mugabe has been moved to Thursday. Bellarmine Mugabe and his co-accused made a brief appearance in the Alexandra Magistrates Court today. The matter was postponed to allow the prosecution more time to provide the defense with outstanding documents. Mugabe and Tobias Matonze were arrested last month following the shooting of an employee at the Mugabe residence in Hyde Park. Mugabe and Matonze face charges of attempted murder, defeating the ends of justice, and the possession of a firearm. Defense advocate Sinenhlanhla Mnguni says they are ready to continue with the bail application.
Of course, the prosecution has stated on record that they've experienced certain challenges with regards to obtaining certain documents, but we're ready from our side to proceed once the state is ready.
And France has deployed fighter jets over the United Arab Emirates to protect its naval and air bases against attacks. This has been confirmed by the country's foreign minister as attacks in the Middle East continue. France has hundreds of Navy, Air Force and Army personnel based in the UAE. Its government says a hangar at a French base in the UAE was hit by a drone on Sunday. The United States and Israel launched attacks against Iran on Saturday, killing the Iranian Supreme Leader. Iran has then responded by targeting U.S. allies in the Gulf region. Gold is trading at $5,258.10 an ounce. The rand is at 16.30 to the dollar, 21.67 to the pound, 18.93 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $77.74 a barrel.
And in the traffic, we've got delays on the N12 West. This is between Edenville Road and the Gilulis interchange. That's due to an accident between these 2 points. There's also queuing traffic on the M2 West between the Crown interchange and Main Reef Road.
It's a cloudy afternoon in Gauteng with scattered showers and thundershowers expected. Temperatures have peaked at highs of between 25 and 26 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour, search and rescue teams are working to recover the body of a 9th construction worker who was trapped under the rubble of a collapsed building in Omonde, south of Joburg.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
702.
Live
On the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856
92.7
and 106 FM. Let's walk the talk.
Good afternoon and welcome to 702 Afternoons with me, Komoto Modise. I'm in for Relebogile this afternoon and it's lovely to be with you on this cool Tuesday afternoon. How's your day going? Have you been having an easy Tuesday? Is it busy at work or are you taking it slow? How's the weather affecting your productivity today? I mean, it is a little gloomy outside, not very cold, but it's certainly not very sunny. There is no sun in Johannesburg where I am. I hope that you are enjoying your Tuesday. We've got quite a show prepared for you this afternoon, coming up on the Tuesday edition of Afternoons. So we begin with our tech feature. And today we're going to be talking about how artificial intelligence is reshaping the compliance landscape. We speak to a company called Okiru Consulting and how they're using AI in compliance. And then for the month of March, we're launching a new series on the different types of retirement. And today we talk about disability retirement. It's a type that you seldom think about, and I think it's because sometimes, it's uncomfortable to think that you might need to, go on retirement because of a disability. Well, we're going to be having that conversation a little later on in the show and how you can best prepare yourself for it, but also how does it work, just the types of disability retirement services there are out there and what you should know about it. And then, of course, on our technical issues feature, we're sticking with the retirement theme, because today we're talking about looking for a ride during your golden years. What should you consider? At around retirement, you're looking for reliability, you're looking for a car that will carry you for as long as possible, you're looking for comfort, you've worked for a long time, and now you want to relax. So we're going to be speaking to Nicole Lowe, who is a regular contributor on the show, on the technical feature. And Nicole will be taking your questions also, any technical car questions that you have. He's going to be on the show explaining and taking those. That's the show this afternoon. On the team today, we've got Abela, who is our technical producer. The lovely Pachita is taking your calls. Mbali Lamini has your news. And Amu Ramela is watching the roads. Get in touch with us. Weigh in on 011-883-0702. Alternatively, you can send a WhatsApp on 072-702-1702. If you'd like to get in touch with me on X, my handle is @mozo_Modise. Thank you so much for tuning in. Good afternoon.
Let's walk the talk.
702.
It's 11 minutes past 1 right here on 702 Afternoons. And here's a thought. So I've been seeing and hearing a lot of conversations around having children. It's conversations I've been seeing online, but also in my social circles. And I suppose the conversations that we have in our friendships are informed by whatever content we're consuming, whether it's online, on television. And this is a conversation that's really moving in my circles. It's a chat about having kids and if there are any real benefits to it. I think I saw a video of someone saying, don't be fooled. There are no benefits to having children. And someone said, people, ask, is parenthood then worth it, right? I mean, if you're not really gaining anything out of it, is it worth it? The sacrifices, the long nights, the early mornings, the money, the finances, and how much you're spending. We know it's not cheap. And I suppose the question that's been asked, uh, especially in Gen Z circles, so to speak, is if there are no real benefits, then why? Why would you be spending that much? Why would you be having children? Yeah. Why would you decide to have children? Now, here are my thoughts, right? Number one, what benefits were you expecting? And this is something I asked a friend. What benefits were you expecting when you decided to have kids? You knew the responsibilities that came with it. You knew that you are going to have to sacrifice. I hope you knew when you had kids that there would be a lot of sacrifice. Why did you think there would be a benefit to having those children? Number two, I find myself a little worried that having kids has become one of those self-gratification practices, so to speak. So now, because we live in this age where everything I do must benefit me somehow, whether it must put money in my pocket, whether it must give me societal or status in society, I think having kids has become that. If we're asking the question, what does it benefit me, right? And I'm not sure that should be the case. That worries me a bit. And what, I mean, is it, and it's not lost on me that in some circles, in social circles, having kids does elevate your status, right? Some people feel once you've had a child as a man or as a woman, they take you more seriously. In some families, people take you more seriously once you have kids. I get that. That's not lost on me. But I'm worried that we're using having children as a self-gratification practice. And that, for me, it makes me a little uncomfortable. But here's my question. Do you believe that there are any benefits to having children? For example, as a new mom myself, I don't believe, that there's any greater character development than having kids. My character has been, and it continues to be shaped and formed because of the little one that I have now. So that's a benefit for me. But if you are a parent, do you believe that there are any benefits to having children? If you've decided not to have kids, is it because you believe that there's no real benefit? And if you knew what you know now, would you still have children? If you knew everything that you've learned now after having kids, and and that doesn't mean whatever your answer is, I don't think can mean that you don't love your kids, right? I don't think so, right? But if you knew what you know now, would you still have kids? I know it can be an uncomfortable conversation to have, particularly because some people might feel, I don't want to express this. This may make me feel like I'm not grateful for my children, but this is a safe space. I really want to hear from you. Those are my questions. Those are my thoughts. In this age that we are living in, where every other person, I've met so many people now that are deciding not to have children, and I think that's amazing. I think that's great. You can exercise, your autonomy. You can decide, right? Which is great. People don't feel pressured anymore to have children, which is fantastic. But do you believe that there are benefits to having children? Number one, I believe that there are some. One of those benefits is character development. But number two, if you knew what you know now, would you still have your children? The number to dial is 011-883-0702 or send me a WhatsApp on 072-702-1702. I see on Facebook, some of you have already started speaking. And someone says, in Ramaphosa's economy, no benefits whatsoever. You see, that's my thing about this benefit conversation. Is it a monetary thing? Because surely there are benefits outside of just the finances. I mean, I know that I'm poorer, okay? I know I'm poorer now that I have a daughter. I can tell you that, right? And I'm more strategic in my decision making. I can't just up and leave. So I know that. But I'm choosing to believe that there are benefits outside of the finances, or there are benefits. Yeah, I mean, benefit doesn't just mean money, right? And I think character is a big one as well. Someone else here saying, if you want kids for benefits, then you're having them for the wrong reason. It's an emotional connection with a child. Kids amplify everything in your life, either negatively or positively. I like that answer because that's my issue and what I struggle with when it comes to this conversation. That why do we think that kids should be benefiting us for any reason? And when you had those children, you understood that you were going to have those children, and there's a responsibility now that you hold. I'm not sure you were having the children to benefit you in any way? I don't know. I see some of your voice notes coming in. Let's take one of them.
Good benefits of having children. I'm a father of one, getting to two, and I can say that you appreciate your parents more. Guys, you appreciate your parents more. All the sacrifice your parents did over the years, whether it was school fees, school clothes, anything they ever done for you, you appreciate your parents more. So for me, the benefit is you learn to appreciate your parents more and life itself.
Yeah, thank you for that. It's true. Now I look at my own mother very differently now that I'm a mom. I look at her differently. You're right. I do appreciate her a lot more. I've been asking her because I'm learning the hard way. When you're a child, you don't know, you don't really understand. The other day I was saying, when you were wasting food or resources, whatever it was in the house, and your mom would shout at you, you thought, oh, it's not such a big deal. But now that I'm older, it's a big deal. And I look at my child, she's one, she doesn't really understand. I can't explain to her if she's being wasteful. But now I look at my mother and I say, is this what you had to deal with, right? And I'm sure that I'm going to have a lot more moments like that, as my child continues to grow. But I like that. You do appreciate your parents a lot more. You look at them very differently. But also you realize just how much they love you because of how much they had to take and how much they had I don't want to say tolerated. That's not a good word, right? But it's a sacrificial practice. You have to sacrifice a lot. And you can't tell me that doesn't sharpen your character. Someone here is saying being a parent is the most amazing and most difficult thing all at once. It's incredibly challenging and even more rewarding. I agree. I want to know how it's rewarding. Because when I said this the other day, I said, I think being a mom is so rewarding. Someone said, how? How? Like, how is it rewarding? Well, what's this reward that you're getting out of it? So I want more from that. If you find it to be rewarding, how is it rewarding? What do you mean by rewarding? What are those rewards, right? And do you find that maybe you're a happier person? Some people say having kids made me softer, more sensitive. Maybe it changed me. It made me see life differently. It made me appreciate people differently or more. Someone else here saying, my life wouldn't be the same without my two beautiful angels because of the pride and joy they bring. I could do this parenting thing again. Well, this is my story. Yeah, it's watching them and thinking, man, this is an incredible human being. Sometimes I've heard of people saying they look at their daughters, their sons, and they say, I did that. And I suppose that's the self gratification that I was talking about. But I think it's beautiful to see this person growing, becoming their own person, developing, becoming a responsible human being, contributing well in society. And it's beautiful to see that you might have given birth to someone who's going to make the world a better place. And I know that sounds cliche, make the world a better place, but that's truly what it is. This is someone that's going to contribute, positively in society. And I think that's a benefit. Am I being, maybe this is the emotional me and I'm trying to give excuses and reasons why I find it to be beneficial. I personally think that this is definitely it's more than just the money. And I think the fuzziness inside and the rewarding elements and bits are more than the monetary losses, or they compensate for the monetary losses.
Homotso, to have kids, the benefit that you get being respected, that thing to be called daddy or mama, that's a benefit. People, they will take you serious. But if you are just someone in no one can take you serious. It's like someone who's driving an X5 and is renting in 4 ways doesn't have a property. That's the same thing. Thank you.
So someone calling you dad or mom it gives you respect. This is what I was speaking about in the beginning of the show, that quite frankly, I know that in many societies and in communities, having a child, being a parent, elevates your status. People take you seriously. I know in some homes, once you have a child or once you are married, even in those family meetings, your contributions matter more. I'm very aware of those dynamics. I'm not sure that's a good enough reason to to have children. I'm not sure, but I suppose it does something for your self-esteem. Some people might feel that they have nothing to live for until they have that child who looks at them with all this hope. They look at you, it looks at you, and you are everything to them. You are all that matters. Children have this way of making you feel like you are just the best thing out there. And that can be very beautiful.
Good day, my sister. Nice hearing you on the airwaves. Yeah, man. Bambinos, Aye. Very sharp. Ever since I could remember, ever since I could string together a sentence, I've always been anti-kids. I'm sorry. I'm not catching that bus. Thank you.
Well, at least you're self-aware. At least you know. And I appreciate people like you who know and then they don't have children. Because I think sometimes we have far too many people that have children, not because they wanted them, but because of, the circumstances or a situation and they were not planning to have them. And that, often doesn't end very well. So at least you know that, when you're not about the children, this is not for you and you're making decisions, I hope that you're making clever decisions around that so that you don't have unwanted children. We're speaking about having kids, the benefits of having children, if there are any. Many people, often say now there are no real benefits, so why do it? But also, if you knew what you know now after having those children, would you still have them? The number to dial is 011-883-0702, 072-702-1702. I see more of your voice notes. Maybe we should take another.
These days, it's very much it's also better to not have children when you have to travel or when you have a career and you want to you have a long-term career that is in development. And regarding children and having to travel as well, that is to not have dependencies on you is not really a good idea for traveling and having a career. So I think in that regard, to have children and travel and have a career, you have to choose either or. Bye. Have a good day.
Hi, Krumutso. This is Anonymous here from Johannesburg. Being a mother, it's an honor, especially if you are responsible and loving and caring. And you know why you brought that child on earth and you're taking care even for other children to show your child that Ubuntu, humanity, what is it? Yeah, we are going to bring up a leader there. Yeah, that's being, and teach your child wisdom to fear God, how you are done. I'm telling you, that's a very good honor.
Yeah, someone else here saying, who is going to buy you tomato from the shop? I suppose they're making reference. I've heard people that say, "Yeah, utla roma mang, don't uska roma bana ba rona." Loosely translated, don't want to send our children around because you decided not to have children. That's on the other Facebook messages. Someone else here saying the joy is unexplainable. That's so beautiful. I love it when people speak about that. The fact that they still have joy, because I think that there's we speak about it so negatively now. And I understand that sometimes the conversations that we have around having kids, particularly, when we speak about the difficulties, I think it's to raise awareness, to make other people feel that you're not alone. The difficulties that you're experiencing are valid. It's okay. But I also love it when I see people speaking about the joy that comes with having children. I also see so many of your WhatsApp, not your Facebook messages coming in. Someone else here saying it's character building stuff. Young children and infants possess inherent wisdom and they will teach you more about yourself than anyone else will. Listen to them, and when they ask you a question, stick to the question. If you watch over them and listen to them, they will trust you. Don't betray them. Respect them. Learn from them. It's about what you are worth. They grow up very quickly, and then one day, quite suddenly, they're gone. Thank you so much for that message. I couldn't have said it better than myself. It really is, character building, character development. They teach you a lot about yourself. Some of the ugly things that you don't want to confront about yourself, kids will show you. Your impatience, the fact that you are sometimes, inconsistent, and maybe your untruths. They hold you accountable. They remind you what you said yesterday and how now today you are not living according to that which you said. The fact that you expect them to live differently to how you are living, and you want to teach them about life, but you are not being truthful. All of that you learn from children. Now, let's take another voice note.
I think it gives you a sense of purpose in life. You no longer just live recklessly, because you now know you're no longer just living for yourself, but you're living for your kids, for your family. It gives you that sense of purpose, and you become too child-centric, if I may use that word.
Yeah, I understand that. I mean, the purpose, it's true. You know what? I think once you have children, you're not just thinking about your own life, right? And I've seen people even change, their lifestyles now that they have children. They say, no, I'm not going to, drive at night anymore. I don't drive at high speeds anymore. I make very different decisions, the places that I go, because now I'm not just living for myself. And I suppose that's a benefit. You're changing your lifestyle for the better because there's someone who depends on you now and is looking up to you. So thank you so much for that voice note. I do see all of your messages that are coming in. Some of you are very adamant not to have kids, and some of you really recounting and really reflecting on what a beautiful process it is. Someone else here saying, what kind of benefit are people expecting? The benefit is in seeing the person grow to their full potential under your leadership and guidance. That's the benefit. If you don't see that as a benefit, then you shouldn't have kids. That's someone on Facebook. More about character development as well. Thank you so much for these messages, and thank you for your reflections. I think it's very interesting to see how the group is, or the people are so split on this. The people that don't see the benefit and don't want to have kids are very adamant. And I think it's good when people are self-aware. But the people that are insisting that there are benefits also are very strong on that, and they hold those views very strongly. I think whichever side you're on, do what's best for yourself and those children. If you have kids already, do what's best for them. I see another message, someone saying the moments shared, achievements, failure, hardship, success, the resilience of a parent-child relationship is very, very fulfilling. And that's the benefit. All right, it's 1:30 and it's time for EWN Headlines with Mbali Dlamini. Good afternoon.
Thanks, Khomotso. Good afternoon. The Johannesburg Emergency Service has handed over the site of a collapsed building in Omonde to police for further investigations. The handover follows the recovery of the last body of a construction worker who was trapped under the rubble. 9 construction workers died when parts of the second floor deck of the structure caved in yesterday. The DA has urged Gauteng residents to use their vote to ensure changes are made in the delivery of services. The call comes as the province continues to struggle with water supply challenges. This morning, the party unveiled a new billboard which takes a swipe at the recent hotel comments of Gauteng Premier Panyaza Lesufi. The billboard was unveiled in Pretoria and reads, "The ANC showers in hotel and vote the DA to put water in your taps." And the bail application of the son of late Zimbabwean President Robert Mugabe has been moved to Thursday. Bellarmine Mugabe and his co-accused made a brief appearance in the Alexandra Magistrates Court today. The matter was postponed to allow the prosecution more time to provide the defense with outstanding documentation. Well, those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 2 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Well,
While traveling on the N12 West, we've got delays between Edenville Road and the Gululis interchange. That's due to an accident there. There's also queuing traffic reported in four ways along Winnie Mandela Drive approaching Leslie Avenue. While traveling in Devlin, some delays reported on the Golden Highway approaching East Street. That's due to the long-term roadworks that are taking place along this route. And staying in the south, we've got some issues also reported on the N12, both directions in and out of Abu Bakr Asavat Drive. While heading towards the city of Tshwane, do expect a slight backup on the N1 North approaching the Brakfontein interchange. More updates at the top of the hour. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Clement Maniatella.
Weekday mornings,
9 to 12.
9 to 12.
So your investigation is done on the SAPS officers, like Wally Riode,
Yes.
who's one of them?
Yes.
Will you be telling the public what the outcome of that investigation has been and whether or not the actions of Wally Riode were legal?
What we've done as IPIT, we've sent through the recommendations to SAPS, who is the employer, asking them to institute disciplinary action against their members because we felt that there was a case to answer.
When did you send the recommendation to the SAPS that they must take disciplinary action against their members?
It was sent last year.
When last year?
The date evades me for now, but it was sent last year.
Lizzie, shipping, IPIT spokesperson.
Clements Maniatella.
9 to 12 on 702.
Some ingredients are simple until they're not. This week, the humble onion becomes the hero in the pressure cooker kitchen of MasterChef South Africa. The onion family is bold, sharp, and sweet, but also unforgiving, and it can make you cry. Expect a challenge that separates the good cooks from the great ones, because when you strip everything back, flavor has to stand on its own. MasterChef South Africa Season 6 continues this Sunday at 6 p.m., only on ETV.
Hollywood Bets introduces the Soccer Punters Challenge, weekday edition, a new platform dedicated to the beautiful game. You stand a chance to score a share of the 1 million rand daily jackpot. Bet R5 or more on selected EPL, PSL, and UEFA Champions League clashes during the week and correctly predict 8 out of 8 winning margins. You could also win the free daily leaderboard prize, where a share of 25,000 rand is up for grabs. Bet now. T's and C's apply. Hollywood Sportsbook is a licensed betting operator. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counselling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help to 076 675 0710.
Whether you love watching great films or dream of making them, the Joburg Film Festival, in partnership with MultiChoice Group, a Canal Plus company, with from the 3rd to the 8th of March, has something for you. Experience powerful local and international cinema on the big screen and tap into the JBX Talks, where the people shaping film unpack the craft, the business, and the future of storytelling. It's more than a festival. It's a front row seat to the film world. Book your tickets now at joburgfilmfestival.co.za.
702.
Tech Feature.
Welcome back. It's time for the Tech Feature. This is Afternoons. My name is Khomotso Modise. I'm in for Relebogile this afternoon. And today on the Tech Feature, we're speaking about AI. And it's an interesting conversation to have. You know, the running of a business is not always as glamorous as it sounds, especially the compliance part of it, right? I think it's the part that business owners actually hate the most. And it's often described as a tedious process, a thorn in the owner's side. But for regulatory purposes, it must be done. And I think the conversation today really speaks to how AI is changing this space. For our Tech Feature, we talk about a company that is using artificial intelligence to reshape the compliance landscape. And my guest for that is Chengetai Miezwa, the managing director of Kiru Consulting. Yes. Chengetai, thank you so much for your time.
No, thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming into studio. Listen, it's an interesting conversation to have, because whenever I think about compliance, I think about how it's such a headache for companies, and how they must get it right. And here you are using AI, which people often think of as there are still so many challenges with AI, and it's not yet quote unquote Perfect. So maybe I should start with the basics. What does AI-powered compliance actually look like, and what does the company do?
So, firstly, thanks for having me on, and I think that's a perfect segue and question to ask. Whenever people think AI, they immediately go to ChatGPT. And if you bring it into your company, they expect to have one big super brain.
Yes.
That you tell it, exactly what to do, and it just spits out exactly what you need. It does your job for you.
Yes.
But AI in a compliance sense, we actually start and look at the data, right? AI is only as good as you know how to use it and what you want out of it. And so what we have done is actually developed a toolkit that turns unstructured data into structured data.
Okay.
So instead of you spending hours and hours putting together Excel spreadsheets in order for you to submit for whatever compliance deadline you have, you can take all of your supporting evidence, everything you've been doing along the year, and almost dump it in. And what we have set up is that you then get structured data come out, ready to be analyzed and submitted to an auditor or regulatory body.
Okay. So that's the problem that you were trying to solve, I suppose.
Correct.
It's this overwhelming data that you have as a company. What does it do?
Yes.
So does it compress and go through the data, sort it out for you? How does it work?
Correct. So we've actually spent a painstaking amount of time actually looking for, well, what is it when your auditor asks you for something, when government asks you for something, when a regulator asks for something, you have to understand why, right? They're trying to make sure that people are following the rules, that they're playing fair. And so we answer the why. And part of what AI does is actually analyze your data and show you trends, show you exactly where your gaps are. And this is talking specifically to BEE, employment equity, ESG, as well as your workplace skills plan submissions.
Okay. And how did Okiru start? So was this a bunch of people that had been struggling with compliance themselves in your own companies, and you thought, wait a minute, maybe we could do this?
So actually, I've been a BE consultant for the last 6 or 7 years. And before that, I was actually a banker. And if I keep going further and further, I'm only going to confuse you further because I actually studied law.
Okay.
But I think, first of all, it started from a deep passion for AI. So in the beginning, like using any new tool, we're kind of like infants in the beginning. You stumble as you go along.
Yeah.
And the more time I spent playing with it, the more I realized what we could actually do with it. So being a BE consultant, I would sit and spend a long amount of time. I'd work on average 12 to 16 hours a day because we, bill per hour.
Yeah.
And I thought, this is so repetitive. Yes, there are insights I managed to draw from that data, but I spent a lot of time going through a lot of data in order to be good at my job. And this was born from us deciding there has to be an easier way. There are tools available to us. Let us first understand them, and then we decided to actually build our own. And that's where Okiru was born from.
Okay. Listen, that sounds very inspiring. And from the very beginning, was Okiru about using the AI route? Or were you initially doing things the traditional way, as you say, as a consultant, combing through the data, sitting down, having to go through page after page? Or has it always been, let's use AI?
So from the beginning, AI was the backbone of, our engine. In order to be able to produce good work, I will, be honest and say that the traditional way still guides a lot of the principles.
Yeah.
Tradition is there for a reason. A lot of people have spent much longer than I've been alive figuring out how to do things correctly. And I don't want to reinvent the wheel. We're not coming to break the system per se. It's just to improve and augment, to allow really smart people to continue to do what they're doing.
Yeah.
The businesses we help out, most of the time they're treating compliance as a tick box exercise. They're just saying, let's get the certificates so we can get to where we need to get to. But once we start having a conversation and they trust the fact that you go through the data in great depth, you can draw insights and actually guide decisions beyond scorecard, beyond compliance.
Yeah.
BE is meant to be an economic driver, and it is. when it's done correctly.
Mm.
So what we're doing is making it easier for everybody to participate so that the codes can actually achieve the ultimate goal.
And that brings me to because the question that's been bothering me really is
Mm.
how reliant are you on the AI systems? And I ask that because the conversation right now around AI is just how imperfect it still is.
Yeah.
And how it's, as you said, it's about the prompting. So whether you
Mm.
must prompt it correctly so you can get the correct results.
Correct.
But I mean, sometimes you think you've prompted it correctly
And it gives you something completely different.
and you're sitting there with, you don't even understand what's going on. So how reliant are you on the AI? Is this completely AI run?
So no. And I must say, I definitely, and I insist this with, all the staff, with even the clients that we are working with, is that AI is a tool to augment you. It's not there to replace you. So every step of the way, we've actually set it up such that our AI tools check with you first. So you have to have human intervention at every point.
Yeah.
You can't trust AI to run off and do its own thing purely because it has access to so much data.
Mm.
So the first step we do is actually give it a resource base to work with. You only play within the confines that we give you. You don't search the internet. You don't put any information out there because that is a security risk, not just to ourselves, but to our clients. And so it's not...
I wanted to come in there, right?
Yeah.
Because the conversation now is, there's the dark web. You put people's personal information online and you don't know where it's going. You don't know where it may end up. And oftentimes it's regurgitated at the end of the system where you have no idea how it got there. So how do you go about doing that? How do you protect people's personal information and personal data when using AI?
So I never encourage using the free tools for sensitive data. The tools that we use are built in-house and only access resources that we give it. On top of that, your biggest risk with anything technology-wise is always people. So we've actually designed a whole course around this because of this need on teaching people on how to use it correctly, when to put in information, what information not to put in, because someone may inadvertently think, what's the harm? But before you know it, you may have some sensitive information sitting on ChatGPT or on Gemini or on Claude. And so before even going as to all the cool things it can do, how do we use it responsibly and ethically? And that's something which you can't assume people know. You actually have to teach them.
What are all these cool things that it's doing, right? Because and I mean, from a journalist perspective, the conversation is very different, right?
Yes.
Around the use of AI. But from a compliance perspective, I'm expecting it to use the data that you've already given it to almost, cough out a report, right?
Yes, essentially.
Is that the cool thing that is saying? Yeah.
That's one of the cool things. I mean, that only saves you time. But the coolest thing that we've kind of broken through of late is voice. So imagine a situation where you're presenting and you notice a mistake in your slides.
Yeah.
You can actually now talk to AI and say, please fix that. And live in front of everybody, it goes and scrubs that out and puts it in. And again, follows your instructions to a T. Generating of images. I have one of our business partners who's created a marketing lab.
Yeah.
And instead of you going to have to prompt everything and every single time, you can actually just put in your image, give it an example of what you want it to look like, and it generates this for you, and you can post it directly to any social media platform that you're already on. So I find the cool thing that I say is AI allowed me to remove the limiters of the difference between what's in my mind and my hands. And what AI has allowed me to do is turn my thoughts into reality and action.
It's our tech feature, and we're speaking about the use of AI in compliance. And I'm learning a lot, particularly because the use of AI is a hot topic right now. Definitely. And my guest is the managing director of Okiru Consulting, Chingatai Miezwa, is in studio with me, talking us through how they go about cleverly using AI to help or to work in the compliance space. So when it comes to triple BEE, how exactly do your AI tools help with compliance there? Because my understanding of compliance in BEE is the composition of the leadership in a company. That's really the triple BEE compliance issues that we have in this country. So what exactly does it do in that space?
So again, I love that you bring this up, because when people talk BEE, they only focus on ownership. And it's what is called a balanced scorecard. Most businesses do a lot more that's in line with BEE than they realize. And so in the beginning, we start by teaching you and letting you know, did you know this counts? Did you know that counts? And most of the time people go, oh. And we start with a baseline. So what our AI tool actually does is gives you an accurate baseline. And the more information you feed us, the more accurate your baseline will be. Then from there, we actually have I'd say somewhat of a gap analysis to take a look and see, well, where is it you're trying to get to, and what actual steps do you need to take? But again, what steps are those? We'll actually give you that information and let you know what you could possibly do in order to get there. Most of the time, there's a cost involved. But we can, again, the codes are very accommodating to the South African people. And what the AI tool then does is actually give you a robust roadmap on how to get to the level you want to get to as cheaply and quickly as possible. And the whole time you have an experienced consultant who's there to hold your hand and kind of gauge the nuance. So again, I wouldn't encourage saying use just the AI tool unless you already know what you're doing. If you don't know what you're doing, you're starting at the beginning. You start with someone who has a bit of experience and then takes you through the process and eventually lets go and lets you run with it on your own.
My guest is Chingatai Miezwa, the Managing Director of Okiru Consulting. More from him after this.
Bongani Bingwa, 702 Breakfast.
Weekday mornings, 6 to 9.
We can get excited about R1 trillion spent on infrastructure projects, but often citizens shake their heads and wonder if every rand and cent will get to where it is intended.
In many cases, it does not, because the government often pays too much. Either the final price will be much higher than the initial project cost, or there will be other issues in the management of the contract which lead to escalating costs and delayed service delivery. There is bigger fiscal leakage happening because of maladministration and poor project management.
Chairperson of the Standing Committee on Public Accounts, Songezo Zibi.
Bongani Bingwa, 6 to 9.
On 702.
Mzansi, Powerball and Powerball Plus are making it rain lots of cash this March, with a big 102 million rand in total estimated jackpots this Tuesday. Don't delay. Play Powerball for an estimated 68 million rand and Powerball Plus for an estimated 34 million rand today. Buy your tickets now in store on nationallottery.co.za. The mobile app or cell phone banking. Panda, Pusha, Play. Players must be 18 years or older. Play responsibly. Ituba is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
Need a seat? Try 7 or 5. It's your call. Want a sunroof? Make it a panoramic. Gotta have power? How does award-winning 138 kilowatt sound? The Changan CS75 Pro is big enough for the kids, smart enough for your playlist, and stylish enough for your Friday night too. Why settle when you can have it all without compromise? The Changan CS75 Pro. Drive tomorrow's SUV today. Visit changanmotors.co.za for more.
Changan, driven to evolve. 702.
Tech Feature.
Welcome back. It's the Tech Feature on afternoons. My name is Modise. I'm in for Relebogile this afternoon. It's 10 minutes to 2. And we're speaking all things AI in the compliance space. My guest this afternoon is Chingatai Miezwa. He's the Managing Director of Okiru Consulting. I want to hear about these in-house tools that you say you're building. Yes. These are tools that you use in the business. Correct. Are these also the same tools that you offer to clients?
Correct.
Yeah. How do you go about doing that?
So we actually have a range of tools that we're working with and have built. I'd like to bucket them in either tools for everybody or tools for our industry specifically. And I'll start with the ones for everybody. One of our clients at the moment, and we actually just are concluding the project, is that they just wanted, a bot for their website, something that clients can interact with, and it's a sales qualifier and lead generator, so to speak. The cool part about this is we brought the voice aspect in there. Together with that, we have some productivity tools, so allow you to manage your email inbox, pre-draft some emails for you, and stay on top of tasks. Not only does it give your leadership, sight of what you're doing based on what you want them to see, but also helps you manage your day-to-day life. There are a few more specific tools, especially in the telecom space, where we've put together and they like to call them bots, and I let them, run with that, but they're not necessarily bots.
Wait, so bot is not the right term?
Bot is not necessarily the correct term,
Okay.
but it's okay, so long as it's understood what it's doing. But this bot actually assists clients when they want to know how much data they have left on their SIM card. If they have any issues, it actually then resolves queries for them as well.
Yeah.
And at any point can hand over to an operator, but it actually does operate as a human being. As well as HR. HR tends to be inundated with lots of questions. People want to know how many leave days do I have left, even though you're given access to the portal. Now you'll be able to put in a bot where everything you'd have sent to HR in terms of your SOPs, what you need to do, you can actually get that directly from the bot. And if you still need to speak to somebody, we actually have one that can allow people to speak to HR when they have a grievance.
Are they speaking to a robot?
Again, and that's why I don't like the word bot.
But are they speaking to actual AI personnel, HR personnel? Because how does that differ to me making the call to the AR partner in the company?
So I'll put it this way.
Yeah.
If you were to call one of ours, you probably wouldn't know you were talking to a bot. That's how good it is.
But it's a bot.
It's a bot. It's honestly a bot. We've even generated a sales training environment one, and this one I'm very proud of.
Yeah.
You can simulate an angry customer, a happy customer. You can simulate, a customer that doesn't know anything. And as your salespeople are in this training environment, it gives them cues as acknowledge empathy, acknowledge their frustration. Don't forget to mention this, and helps you, get to the stage where you're almost phone ready or you're client ready together with this bot. And again, you would not realize you're actually talking to a bot. It even gets African names right now.
Sure.
So Tabo and Lesejo and all of them says it exactly correctly.
And is it? Can you vouch for it being 100%? Of course, because it's not a person.
So I would never ever do that.
Yeah.
I'd never vouch for it being 100% accurate. But we got about 99.97% accuracy. And I say that about, even though it's a very specific number.
Yes.
I think, again, with any tool, it's only as good as you know how to use it. And what we've done is put in enough guardrails to ensure that we are getting fairly accurate results. But that's on if you're placing that within clients. For ourselves internally, we actually have put together quite a few scorecards. So your BEE scorecard, for example, regardless of which industry you're in, you would be able to then get to a mock scorecard and see, if I were to go to an auditor today, what score would I get? What level would I come out at? It gives you that risk-free environment to go in with confidence to an audit. We've also expanded that beyond just BEE to employment equity, to workplace skills plan, even ESG as well. So one of the major incumbents in the automotive space came to us and asked us to design a scorecard for them to measure and track their ESG initiatives. And this is something that we're actually going to be presenting on in Sun City at the end of the month to about 1,000 panel beaters to then let them know this is what the scorecard's going to look like, and all the actions that you take place go towards this scorecard, and this is how you score.
Yeah.
And then finally, and this one is not done yet, and I'm pretty sure my partners are going to kill me for saying this, but we want to expand into financial audit because the thought process and logic is pretty much the same.
Except in finance, accuracy is
100% key.
Imperative. It's so important.
Any audit, accuracy is key.
Yeah.
I think, and any audit process takes a sampling metric. So what we can guarantee is what we've sampled. Outside of that, and what we're trying to do is make sure that we can process enough data to ensure that if anything gets sampled, you still get the result that we say you're going to get.
Someone's asking if
Mhm.
they were to call you for triple BEE compliance assistance, where would you start?
Where would I start?
Yeah.
Oh, perfect. I would actually first start by asking you to tell me about your business, and I would share with you a detailed checklist on what information we need in order to get a baseline scorecard. Again, I love to start at the very beginning. So as I've assessed your current state, I then teach you about the scorecard as we go along. Everything, what it means, and what steps we actually take. Because again, the more I know, the more money I can save you. And I know that is the main motivator for wanting to reach out to somebody who knows what they're doing with the BE scorecard.
All right. Well, where do people find you? How do they get in touch with you? Do you have a social media presence? Where do they call you?
Yeah. So we actually are available on almost every social media platform. TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn, what is it? Instagram.
Yes,
even.
Instagram.
Yeah.
Yes.
We have an email address, which is contact@okiru, that's OKIRU.co.za. That's Okiru, OKIRU.co.za. And we have a WhatsApp line as well. Don't worry, at the moment, you can get through to a person, but if you really want to speak to the bot, it's something we can turn on. I tend to find for dealing with people, they prefer to deal with the person first.
Yeah.
And so a dedicated salesperson will be in touch with you.
Chingatayimi as well, the managing director of Okiru Consulting. Thank you so much for your time.
No, thank you.
In the last 24 hours, this is what's happened in your world.
A massive building positioned between two towering electricity pylons has now become a source of grief and unimaginable pain for many families. The smell of wet cement and dust lingered strongly in the air as relatives gathered outside the collapsed building, holding on to hope that their loved ones will be found alive. But the pain deepened when the trapped workers were pulled from the rubble with no sign of life. One construction worker who survived the incident says he's traumatized.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent.
The Johannesburg Philharmonic Orchestra presents an evening of the beautiful music as Conrad van Alphen conducts the second concert of the season, bringing to the podium a delightful mix of Chopin and Beethoven. Award-winning virtuoso pianist Ludmil Angelov takes center stage with two magnificent pieces at the Linda Auditorium at 7:30 p.m. on Thursday, the 5th of March. Tickets are available on Quicket. Visit jpo.co.za for more information.
It's your last chance to save with the Checkers Extravaganza. Save extra on deals like Fanta, Sprite, Schweppes or Stony soft drinks 2 litres, any 2 for 39 Rand. Save 15%. Sunfoil Pure Sunflower Oil 2 litres for 69.99. Save 25 Rand. And a new Mega Kitchen Towels 2 per pack, 2 for 79 Rand. Save 41 Rand. Valid until 8 March. Only at Checkers, Checkers Hyper or shop on 6060.
This Eyewitness News is brought to you by Momentum. Financial advisors help you have a better shot at generational wealth. Speak to a Momentum accredited financial advisor. Momentum is part of Momentum Group Limited, an authorized FSP and registered credit provider.
This is EWN.
Good afternoon, I'm Bali Lamini. The Johannesburg Emergency Service has handed over the site of a collapsed building in Omonde, south of Johannesburg, to police for investigations. The handover follows the recovery of the last body of a construction worker who was trapped under the rubble. 9 workers died when parts of the second floor deck of the structure caved in yesterday. This morning, the city confirmed it had not approved the building plans of that structure. Officials say once the cause of the collapse has been established, the building will be demolished and the owner will be charged. Joburg Deputy Mayor Luiso Masugu visited the site today.
the reality is that bylaws were not followed, and earlier on we confirmed that there are no approved building plans within the city of Joburg, so there was no compliance, and the work that was being done here is actually done illegally, not in line with the laws of the city.
The DA has urged Gauteng residents to use their vote to ensure changes are made in the delivery of services. The call comes as the province continues to struggle with water supply challenges. This morning, the party unveiled a new billboard which takes a swipe at the recent hotel comments made by Gauteng Premier Panyaza Lesufi. The billboard was unveiled in Pretoria and reads, "The ANC showers in hotels," and "Vote DA to put water in your taps." Lesufi came under fire last month when he said he was forced to take a shower at a hotel due to the ongoing water crisis in the province. Lesufi has since apologized for his comments, but the DA says his remarks point to how the ANC has lost touch with citizens. DA Gauteng leader Solim Simang says residents must vote differently in order to see some change.
We are saying to the people of Gauteng, we are saying to the people of South Africa, you can continue doing some of the same, but it will end up in tears. We are seeing the deterioration right now. We were struggling with electricity. We had to struggle with electricity for almost 15, 16 years. And we had said we are going to have the same problem with water unless there's something that it gets to be done.
The bail application of the son of late former Zimbabwean President Robert Mugabe has been moved to Thursday. Bellarmine Mugabe and his co-accused made a brief appearance in the Alexandra Magistrates Court today. The matter was postponed to allow the prosecution more time to provide the defense with outstanding documents. Mugabe and Tobias Matonze were arrested last month following the shooting of an employee at the Mugabe residence in Hyde Park. Mugabe and Matonze faced charges of attempted murder, defeating the ends of justice, as well as the possession of a firearm. Defense advocate Sinenhlanhla Mnguni says they are ready to continue with the bail application.
Of course, the prosecution has stated on record that they've experienced certain challenges with regards to obtaining certain documents, but we're ready from our side to proceed once the state is ready.
To this now, the term of the acting executive director of the Independent Police Investigative Directorate, Hlengani Bila, has been extended. Acting Police Minister Feroz Kachalia says Bila will remain in the position until a permanent appointment is made. Bila has been acting in this capacity since August last year, following the departure of former Executive Director Jennifer Ntlantseng. Police Ministry spokesperson Kamogelo Mogotsi says the process to appoint a new Executive Director is underway.
This extension, which is also supported by the Portfolio Committee of Police, is intended to ensure continued stability and effective leadership within the Directorate.
And the International Committee of the Red Cross says millions of people in Somalia are at risk of famine. The country has been battling acute food insecurity as a prolonged drought devastates livelihoods. 2 consecutive failed rainy seasons have caused catastrophic levels of hunger and led to the displacement of many people. The ICRC says the situation is expected to become desperate should the rains not come soon. Well, gold is trading at $5,258.11 an ounce. The rand is at 16.30 to the dollar, 21.67 to the pound, 18.93 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $77.78 a barrel.
In the traffic, look out for faulty traffic lights in Midrand at the N1 South and Olifantsfontein, as well as in Lone Hill at Lone Hill and Main Road.
It's a cloudy afternoon in Gauteng today with scattered showers and thundershowers expected. Temperatures have peaked at highs of between 25 and 26 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour, the Johannesburg Emergency Service has handed over the site of a collapsed building in Omonde to police for investigations.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
They say the early bird catches the worm. Great advice, unless you're the worm. Generic so-called wisdom doesn't work for everyone. So I settle for a financial plan that's one size fits some. Momentum accredited financial advisors take the time to get to really know your unique situation. Advice meets your context. Momentum, your journey to success. Momentum is part of Momentum Group Limited, an authorized financial services and registered credit provider.
702.
Live
On the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856
92.7
and 106 FM. Let's walk the talk.
Welcome to the second hour of 702 Afternoons. My name is Mabotja. I'm in for Relebogile this afternoon. It's 6 minutes past 2. That means we have just under an hour together. And for the next hour, we're going to be we're going to have our car feature, which I'm excited about. We're speaking to Nicole Lowe, and today we talk about retirement rides. So during those golden years, or just before them, the decision that you make around the vehicle that you buy is so important. You're looking for comfort, you're looking for longevity, and Nicole Lowe is going to talk us through what you should be on the lookout for. But it seems in this hour, we're going to be staying with the retirement theme because we're also launching a new feature in the month of March, and that is around the types of retirement. And the one type that we're talking about today is disability retirement. We don't speak much about it, and I think it's because we're avoiding it. We're hoping that we can, almost keep it away if we don't talk about it or think about it, but it's a reality. So we'll be talking about that in just a bit. Ines Havenga is going to be talking us through disability retirement, what you need to know, and how you can prepare. To weigh in, the number to dial is 011-883-0702. Alternatively, send me a WhatsApp on 072-702-1702.
702
Series Edition.
So that new feature that I told you about, it's around retirement. There are types of retirement. And I think when we think and talk about retirement, we almost always picture gray hair. You think long service awards. You think, you're at the end of a long run. You've done your part, done your work, given everything that you can give. And now you must just go into retirement and rest and relax. But the reality is that's not always how things end for people, for all people. Some people are forced into retirement by circumstance, and that circumstance could be disability. And so what happens in those instances? How do you better prepare and plan for that? And what exactly is disability retirement? Ines Havenga is our advice specialist for personal finance and customer solutions. And I think, it scares me a bit. It's a conversation that's a difficult one to have. And I suppose it scares many people because of what it implies and how abrupt it can bring an end to your career. Ines, good afternoon. Thank you so much for your time.
Hi, Holmes. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Appreciate it.
When I was thinking about this type of retirement, I was wondering whether it's popular and if people generally opt to have disability cover, disability benefits, because of just how scary the thought is that your entire career could be brought to a complete halt because of an event that may have been out of your control.
Absolutely. It's just one of the parts of your financial plan, and people tend not to talk about this one that much, and there's not a lot of excitement in it because if you plan for retirement, it's something you look forward to. But this is something like, it's almost like burglar bars. It's something that you make provision for and hope that you never use.
Yeah.
But the thing is, if you don't have it, it can have a devastating effect on you. But not only on you, on your children and your immediate family as well.
So how exactly do disability benefits work? Is this something that you would be covered for at work, at your place of employment, or are these benefits that you would have to be paying for on the side, getting a plan, a disability plan that's not necessarily linked to your employer?
Yeah, it's actually a difficult concept because there's no silver bullet for disability because it will depend on what type of occupation you do, how you earn your income, and what's the type of benefits and your employment contract. So I always say it's especially for disability, you need to speak to your financial advisor to make sure that you've got a plan in place. For me, it's almost like a relay race because one provision needs to transfer to the next. So it starts with your employment. So you need to look at what is your benefits when you become sick or get in an accident or become disabled. What's the immediate benefits, the immediate provision that you have? And that's the first of all, it's your sick leave. So how much sick leave do you have while maybe recovering or determining the permanence of your disability or injury? Secondly, after that, is if you have a pension fund or provident fund as part of your employment contract, there could be disability benefits as part of the contract, so or as part of the fund. And it's important to understand exactly how it works because there's different ways of covering disability. Just 4 different concepts is you can have temporary disability as well as permanent disability. So temporary disability will cover you while you're temporarily unable to earn an income. Where permanent disability is where you're permanently disabled and that will replace your income for a set amount of time. Sometimes to retirement, other plans, it will pay you for the rest of your life. But then also the way it pays out, it could be an income payment where it replaces your income on a monthly basis, or it could be a lump sum where it pays out capital and you need to use that capital to make provision for an income going forward. Or I prefer the combination of the two, where you need to replace your income, but also have some capital to pay for the unexpected costs and adjusting to your lifestyle, because a disability can be a very daunting lifestyle adjustment, and you might need some capital to adjust to this new lifestyle.
Yeah. And is it advisable for all of us to have disability cover? Or is it, particularly for people in high-risk jobs? I'm thinking for people maybe in construction and people who are at greater risk of being, incapacitated to do their work.
Yeah, it's actually a very relative concept because a small injury for a pilot, like for example high blood pressure or a simple thing that we take for granted, could mean he can't do his occupation. Where for someone else, they need to be paralyzed to be able not to be able to do their job. So it could be as it will depend on your occupation, but every single person that earns an income must ask themselves the question: what can cause them not to earn an income? And if you can't earn an income, what is going to replace that income in that eventuality? So, and that's a difficult concept that there's different types of disability benefits in the market, and why you need to pair the exact or the right benefit with the specific person and the occupation and the benefits you already have on your pension fund, for example. Because you must also make sure that you're not overinsured or covered for something that won't pay out when you become disabled. For example, if you already earn an income from your pension fund, that you don't buy an insurance policy that won't pay out, because we can't enrich a customer when becoming disabled. So there's a lot of things that you need to take into account when planning for disability.
We're speaking about disability retirement, and I want to hear from you if you were forced into retirement because of disability, or if you're incapacitated, couldn't continue to carry out, your work, or if you have a family member who's been in that situation. How did you navigate it? I know that there are, sometimes you're forced into retirement, but you hadn't planned for it. You don't have cover. How did you navigate that? Has having cover worked for you? Have you seen those benefits? Get in touch with us, 011-883-0702, 072-702-1702. Ines, I want to know what particular illnesses, if any, or conditions qualify for disability retirement, because sometimes you might think that you cannot carry out your work anymore for whatever reason, and you think, I should now go into disability retirement, I should cash out on my benefits, but your service provider may say, no, this illness or this, what's happened to you here doesn't qualify for disability retirement.
Yeah, I think there's different concepts. So the first concept is occupational disability, and that's where majority of people will be covered under, because they look at what you do in your daily duties, your material and substantial duties of your occupation, and based on the injury, would you be able to do those duties that's required from you to do your job and earn your income. So if your injury is of such a nature that you can't do that duties, then you can be declared disabled. And that, as I said earlier, that could be something small that's not as material for another person, but you won't be able to do your specific occupation. And then you've got other benefits that will look at your specific injuries, and there's medical definitions linked to it. So for example, it's specific as you lose the use of your legs or your arm, or you lose your speech or sight. And based on that, it can pay out. So, because for one person to be paralyzed from his, let's say, hips down, they can perfectly still do their jobs. But for other people, they won't be able to do their job. So it's very difficult to give you a spot-on answer, because it will be determined based on the occupation that you do. Would you be able to do your occupation and the duties of your occupation with the illness or injury that you currently have?
Okay. And what would the process look like? So in the instance where you've been contributing to a pension fund or a provident fund, and you experience tragedy and you can't carry out your duties anymore, what then happens? So do you then go to your pension fund provider to say, I believe that I qualify for retirement now because of what has happened? What would the process be?
Yeah, I think it's a combined effort between yourself, the employee, the employer, and then the medical specialist that's treating you. And there's each benefit will have their own rules in terms of what is seen as a disability and what is seen as occupational disability. So in conjunction with your employer, they will say, well, with the help of the medical professionals, that they feel that you can't do your occupation or the duties of your occupation anymore because of this injury. And they, based on the help from the medical attendants, if they feel you can't do your occupation anymore, then you can apply for disability. And when all parties feel that you qualify for the disability, then only you'll qualify. But the other important factor is also that you need to look at permanence. Some benefits will only pay out once permanence is established. If you're permanently disabled, that the benefit pay out. And that's normally where there's a lump sum that pays out. It's only paying out once permanence is established. So that's also critically important to have temporary disability income, because it might be that you're disabled for only 3 or 4 or 5 months, but during that period, you will experience a loss of income because your employer only have, let's say, for a month or 2 months sick leave that they're going to pay you for. Then you need to pay or to take unpaid leave. So, then apply. You can apply for your disability, and once you meet the requirements, then it will either pay out a lump sum, which you then need to use to generate an income going forward, or it could be an income payout where it will pay out normally up until retirement age. And I think that's also a very important concept.
Yeah.
Because saving for retirement is, you've got a plan at a specific date that you want to retire, and you've got a target of a rand amount that you need to save towards that date. And if you become disabled earlier and you didn't make provision for disability specifically, the benefit is you have access to your retirement funds. But the problem is the benefit was actually meant to retire in, let's say, at age 16, 20 years from now, but now you need to access your retirement funds much earlier, which will mean your funds won't grow to the target that you set for yourself. Mm-hmm. And there's a much longer period that you need to sustain your income, because you're going to actually early retire from funds that's not close to the value that you anticipate it to be. So very important, the balance between disability, making provision for disability, and the impact that it has on your retirement. So if you don't plan for disability specifically, it will erode your retirement capital as well, if you need to tap into your retirement funds early.
And then let's go into the concept of medical boarding, because that's also got to do with you experiencing a tragedy or something happens that now results in you not being able to carry out your duties.
Yeah, I think it's basically the same concept. There's two concepts: medical boarding, which is when your employer, based on your condition, decides that you can't do your occupation anymore, you can't do the duties, they medically board you. And from that perspective, if you have disability benefits on your pension fund, for example, it will carry over and start. You will apply for the benefits and it will pay out. Where total disability, from an insurance perspective, is they're looking at your condition and looking at the benefit definitions. And if your condition or the criteria meet the definitions, then the benefit will pay out. So I think there's two different sectors to it, because, but it's very close to each other, because if your medical board, if it doesn't have disability benefits, well, there's no funding, and then you'll be forced to tap into your retirement funds.
Okay. All right, let's take some of your calls. Bongi, you're in Johannesburg and you are a certified financial planner. You'd like to weigh in. Thank you so much for your call. Bongi, hi.
Oh, yes. Hi there. Yes, so I've been involved in pension funds, financial planning for the last 25 years.
Yeah.
And what I find is that a lot of employees, they don't take their benefits seriously. For an example, I'd just like to speak about the PHI. We call it PHI, Permanent Health Insurance, so it's disability income. The law says you can't get more than 75% of your income. So you might find that the employer provides the 75%, and then you've got a policy of 75%. So you're wasting money because only one of them will pay, because the law says you can't have more than 75% of your income unless the other one is a lump sum benefit. That's the first thing that I want to caution on. Then the next thing is that you find that your pensionable salary that defines that benefit, it's not your total cost to company. Maybe it's half your salary. So at the end of the day, come disability, you're only getting 50% of your income and you get a shock of your life, you know. And then the third thing that I want to just bring up is the fact that, the group schemes, if your benefit is provided through your employer, there's something called the medical free limit, right? So if you don't do the medicals that they want and you're above the medical free limit, that limits you even further, So what I would like, like the listeners to do is look at your benefit statement, look at the pensionable salary, look at the medical free limits. When the HR department says go for medicals and you decide not to go, it will have an implication on your age benefit. Yeah. So that's what I would like, I wanted to contribute.
Oh, thank you so much for that. It's an important contribution. Thank you, Bongi, for your call. And I was about to go into that, where sometimes we've got this tendency of assuming that we're covered for more than we actually are. So it happens with retirement in general, where you think you've got, you've planned for your retirement, and then you live longer than you anticipated, and there's too much life, more life, or longer than the money, so to speak. In this instance, when it comes to disability cover, how can one, and disability retirement in particular, how can one plan for it that it gets you to the end of your life, so to speak?
Absolutely, yeah. So the important factor is the ideal scenario is where, should you become disabled, let's say 20 years before retirement, that you have funds in place that can replace your income while you can't earn an income and still contribute towards your retirement. And once you hit your retirement age, that benefit will cease, and you can actually now retire like you would have retired when you didn't become disabled. So that is the ideal scenario, to keep on contributing and having your income replaced, because at the end of the day, that's your most valuable asset, and you need to protect that as good as you can. So Protecting income, you must think for yourself, if you don't get your paycheck at the end of the month, where will the money come from? And if you can't answer that question for yourself, then you need disability cover.
All right, I think let's take a voice note from one of the listeners. Okay, it seems that voice note is not ready. Hopefully it will be ready in just a bit. I suppose, so once you've planned and you've prepared and you think you've got your ducks in a row, the one thing that I've seen from many people when they plan for retirement generally is that you'll almost put your fingers in many pies, that you don't have, a single retirement fund. Can one do the same when it comes to disability? Is there even a need?
Yeah, I think back to the first question actually is you need to understand exactly what you have and what will be paid for, because if you can buy a disability policy and it might not pay out because you're already covered for that or you're already overinsured. So exactly what the caller just said, plan for your disability and make sure that all the different elements of your disablement are covered. So don't just go and buy this. It's not like go and buy a car. You need to plan and understand exactly what you need to buy, what type of benefit will fit your profile and the type of work you do. And then critically important is to review this plan on an annual basis, because it could be that you take out cover because you've done a certain occupation and 2 years later you change your occupation, you do something completely different. And it might need some changes to the disability cover that you have because of your occupation and the duties of your occupation change. So it's critically important to review this. It's not a buy once and forget it. You need to review this and update this. And also very important when there's changes in your life, for example, you change your occupation, that you inform the insurer about it, because it's critically important for them to understand the risk that they're taking. And if you might not be covered because of your new occupation, then you can make adjustments and buy a different type of disability benefit or change your cover to make sure that you are covered. Or it might be that you join you've got a new job and now suddenly you have a pension fund. And now you need to maybe scale down on your insurance policies because of the pension fund benefits that you're not overinsured. So there's so many things that you need to take into account. But it's critically important to sit with someone that understands financial planning and help you plan for this and review this regularly.
All right. Someone asking whether mental health conditions can be considered when it comes to disability.
Absolutely. We see mental health as one of, especially for income disability, as one of the leading causes for disablement. And we live in a very stressful environment and people are under a huge amount of pressure. So that is critically important that could easily cause disability, especially temporary disability, because it might be that you're unable to work for 3 or 4 months because of your mental condition and then recover. And there's benefits out there that will replace your income during that period, and then it will stop paying when you can go back to work again. So yes, absolutely.
All right. I think let's leave it there. Ines Havenga, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
It's an important conversation to have there. And I really hope, it's one of the things that you don't plan for as much as you should. And I think sometimes we assume because you're in, a certain line of work, you might be, office bound, you're sitting at your desk. Would you need a disability cover? Why would you need disability cover? And do you even have disability benefits in your retirement plan? But I think it's worth checking now with your employer. Hopefully this will prompt you to check. I also really appreciate the contribution that we got there from Bongi about just considering that whenever there's those wellness checks, go for those wellness checks, because they could affect whether or not or how you'll be able to benefit from your retirement or from that disability plan in the incident, if an incident were to occur. It's really important. That conversation is going to be uploaded on the Prime Media Plus app, and you can share with your friends and your family as well. It's 2:30. Mbali Dlamini is standing by with the news headlines. Good afternoon.
Thanks, Khomotso. Good afternoon. The Johannesburg Emergency Service has handed over the site of a collapsed building in Omonde to police for investigations. The handover follows the recovery of the last body of a construction worker who was trapped under the rubble. 9 construction workers died when parts of the second floor deck of the structure caved in yesterday. Thabo Besta's legal team says his escape from the Mangaung Correctional Facility in 2022 should not be used as an excuse for his transfer to the Ebongweni Super Maximum Security Prison in Kokstad. Advocate Muafrika Wamaila says the Correctional Services Department has always known he was a sentenced inmate who was serving life in prison. Besta was transferred from Hoshimamburu Prison, where he has been held since his rearrest in Tanzania. His lawyers are back in court today, arguing his transfer to the country's only Supermax prison was unjustified. And the DA has downplayed the 350,000 rand working trip that Public Works Minister Dean McPherson recently took to Brazil with his partner. The DA says the trip complied with the travel policies it has set out for its own members. McPherson has come under fire since the city press revealed the details of his trip, with some political parties accusing him of wasting taxpayers' money. Well, those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 3 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
A good afternoon to you. In the traffic, we'll start in Amalgam. Traffic is sluggish on Main Reef Road. This is from China Mall heading towards the Crown Interchange. In Parktown, there's slow-moving traffic on the M1 South, and this is coming from Oxford Road heading towards the Crown Interchange as well. Look out for faulty traffic lights. This is in Douglasdale at Douglas and Witkoppen Road. Pointsmen are on duty though. And also in Wren Park Ridge at the N1 South and the N1 North, as well as at Bearsnodia Drive. If you come across any other traffic, please do send us a WhatsApp on 072 702 1702 or send us a tweet on X at EWN Traffic.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
This is a message from Johannesburg Water. Johannesburg Water understands the frustration and inconvenience some residents are experiencing due to the water interruptions in some parts of the city. Their technical teams are working around the clock to stabilize supply by repairing major leaks, managing system pressure, and coordinating closely with the bulk supplier. Focused interventions are underway on critical systems and areas to support system recovery and restore supply. Alternative water supply continues being provided in affected areas. Johannesburg Water, a water utility that cares.
I heard she's got a recruiter team working 24/7.
That one, she has a secret supply of talent.
I knew it. She's definitely keeping a secret from us.
Nothing mysterious, guys. It's SA Youth, South Africa's largest youth online recruitment platform. Fast to post, effortless to use, and effective every time.
Recruit on the portal to potential. sayouth.co.za. Powering South Africa's youth workforce.
John Perlman. Weekday afternoons,
3 to 6.
As I said, we're not investigating the criminal aspect of what happened at Palapala. We were looking at the conduct of police officers in terms of what happened.
Okay.
The information that they would receive is related to only members of the South African police officers who were implicated.
It is possible, is it not, that some of the actions taken by police officers may actually amount to criminal conduct?
I don't think there will be limitations, not for public consumption.
Lizzie Suping.
John Perlman.
3 to 6 on 702.
702 Afternoon Drive with John Perlman is proudly brought to you by Telkom Business. Possible begins here. Coming up
on 702 Drive with John Perlman.
Dr. John, good afternoon.
Very good afternoon to you, Khomotso, and good afternoon to all our listeners.
Yeah, what's coming up on the show?
So we're going to do something a little bit different today. For the hour between 4 and 5, we're going to spend it with one guest, and that guest is going to be Benny McCarthy, football star.
Wow.
And Benny is coming in the studio, which we're excited about. The reason for doing this now is his autobiography has come out. He's written it in partnership with the football journalist Mark Gleeson. It's a terrific book. I read it over the weekend. Really looking forward to talking to him. And I'm sure our listeners will want to, hear from Benny, but ask him some questions as well. That's on between 4 and 5. The terrible news just keeps getting worse coming out of Ormandi. The death toll now is 9 people. No clue yet as to who the building contractor was, which is simply extraordinary. That, normally on building sites, there are boards up there. They say who's putting up the building. So that's all got to be resolved. And we're going to look at that a lot more closely and see if we can get any information about what process normally has to be followed when somebody starts putting up a building. You can't just show up on a piece of land and put up structures of that size.
It's so interesting for me with that story that, I was listening to the reports yesterday that the journalists did find people on the site that insisted or said that they were not the owners or that they were not part of the owners who were working on the site. And then at some point, it seemed that someone identified them or the workers identified them as the owners of that site. Someone needs to start speaking.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, I would have thought if it's you, the sooner you say it's me, the better.
Yes.
Because if you, prowling around the site and then denying any responsibility, I don't think that's a particularly good look. So we'll hear more on that later in the show. We're going to look at the appearance of 3 very senior National Health Department officials on corruption. Quite extraordinary. They're accused of rerouting money from the Global Fund, as if South Africa needs any more problems with international funding of our health projects. But we'll talk about that in more detail after 5 o'clock.
All right, that sounds great. That's the afternoon drive with John Perman between 3 and 6 p.m.
702.
The Car Feature.
It's time for the Car Feature. And the Car Feature on 702 Afternoons with Relebogile Mabotja is brought to you by Stellantis South Africa. So I'm looking forward to this conversation this afternoon. Nicole Lowe, our resident technical expert, is joining us on the line. Nicole, good afternoon. Thank you for your time.
Good afternoon, Komoto.
I mean, it's an interesting conversation that we're having today around, choosing a vehicle or a retirement ride, so to speak. It's the car that you buy when you're at the end of your career, but you still have life, ahead of you, and you want to be comfortable, I suppose, but you want a car with longevity, a car that will carry you, that you can keep, for a while. I'm sure that a lot goes into considering what to buy at retirement age.
Yes, that is correct. So obviously we're talking from a technical point of view as well as part of this show. But I had an interesting question the other day, and you hear it so often, like retirement or people going on pension say, I'm buying my last car. It's my last car I'm buying. It needs to be the right car. I need to enjoy it. It never tends to be the last car. There's always like one more or two more after that, but that's another story. But then the pensioner will tell me, okay, my budget is, let's say, 500,000 rands for a car. So I can either buy a new, let's call it a boring car that's going to be reliable and is going to do what I need to do and not break down and not cost an arm and a leg to upkeep, and service and everything is sorted for the next 5 years. Or I can live a little and let's buy something fancy like a German car that's now 10 years old. And this specific example that I'm talking about, he was looking at, for example, 2012, 2013 Porsche Cayennes, Mercedes M-classes, vehicles like that, which back in the day were like millions, but now obviously depreciation and all of that. For the same budget, you can buy one of those. And the question is, well, should I, or is it going to be causing me difficulties or not? So from a technical point of view, to answer that question, it all depends on your financial state. So if you've got a lot of money and it's going to be a toy, it's not your everyday car, then you can sort of gamble. But if it's going to be like your last car, it needs to be reliable, it's your only car, you're going to drive long distance and so on. There's a lot of pitfalls on these expensive cars that's a couple of years old, because remember, the running costs of those cars are still what it used to be when it was a new car, but now you have to pay it, and even though it's within budget. To give you an idea, if you change the 4 tires on a Porsche Cayenne of those years, you can spend between 20 and 30,000 rand on 4 tires.
Sure.
And I'm just talking about the tires. Now compare that to the equivalent, say, Corolla Cross that you buy for the same money. that will be probably around 10 grand for 4 tires. So also that's the running cost. And remember, those luxury vehicles, they were spec'd out with all the options. I mean, everything that can open and close is there, heat and cooled seats. The latest tech that was available in 2013 will be in that car, probably air suspension or adaptive suspension. So from a technical point of view, if you look statistically on that car, there's a lot that can go wrong.
Yeah.
Granted, if everything works, it's lovely. I mean, to drive with one of those vehicles and everything works is bliss. But statistically, if something goes wrong, you must be able to afford to fix it. And it's like any vehicle that is over 10 years old might have a few niggles here and there. But it tends to be those luxury vehicles with all the options and things. They've got more stuff that can go wrong.
Yeah.
So I almost want to discourage people of buying that type of vehicle. If it's your pensioner sort of last vehicle that you're going to buy, you've got a limited budget that you cannot afford ridiculous amounts to spend ridiculous amounts on repairs.
Yeah.
Then maybe it's not a good idea to look at those expensive German type luxury vehicles.
I think sometimes it's an emotional buy. Also, you want a car that shows that I've worked hard all these years, and it's a respectable vehicle. You want a car that shows that you're a respectable person, but also you want a car that's reliable. How do you strike a balance? And maybe if you were to have a rubric, and you were looking to buy a car and you're at retirement age, what would that rubric look like?
Yeah, so I'm tending to lean over to the conservative side. I mean, if you're that in your life in that age of, say, between 60 and 70, you want to retire, you want peace. I mean, I'm a petrol head. I love cars. So I would say if you can afford it, buy something naughty, but keep it in the corner under a cover. That's not your everyday car. You need something that can take you to point A and B. But that's why I say it all depends on your financial state. If you're just a general middle class, let's say, I think rather err on the conservative side to get a vehicle that will be reliable. That's not. If you look statistically again, if you look at a vehicle and it's one of those luxury vehicles, I mean, there's too much that can go wrong. If you buy a newer vehicle, and they tend to be more reliable from Japan and from Korea than the rest of the world, and there's some studies out there that will back up reliability on those. So if you look at your Toyota, your Suzuki, your Honda, those kind of vehicles tend to last for much longer than some of the others, and the Koreans are also catching up on that. They're also very reliable. But unfortunately, we see with all these luxury vehicles that in the first 5 years, they're great. But if you keep them 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, that's when the problems will start. And it's just a fact of life. There's more things that can go wrong.
All right. We are speaking about that vehicle that you should be considering to buy during your retirement years. And I want to hear from some of you who've had to make a decision at retirement on the vehicle that you bought. 011-883-0702, 072-702-1702. I also want to hear how many of you have bought brand new cars at retirement, because generally you hear about people buying cars, second-hand cars, used vehicles, pre-loved vehicles at retirement, never really a brand new car. Get in touch with us. We'll be taking more of your calls after this.
Part of the 702 family.
Hi, my name is Linda. I'm from Bel-Air's Park. I'm a 702 lander, big fan of all the shows, and I'm definitely listening today, and I'll definitely be listening tomorrow.
Welcome to our 702 family. Let's walk the talk.
Selling your car this year, We Buy Cars makes it quick and easy. Simply complete the form on webuycars.co.za to get the best offer in minutes. Then visit your nearest pod or branch, or have We Buy Cars come to you. Ready for a new ride? Browse thousands of budget-friendly vehicles online or in-store today. We Buy Cars, the quickest way to buy or sell.
To live wealthier, you need to be able to grow your assets.
At Standard Bank Private, you get a team of internationally acclaimed financial experts to advise you on local and global investment strategies. Plus, being with a leader in home loans, you can start expanding your property portfolio. So, come live wealthier with Africa's best private bank. Apply online at standardbank.co.za. Standard Bank is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
The JBX talks at this year's Joburg Film Festival offers something truly valuable for anyone interested in the business of storytelling. Join industry leaders, creators, innovators, and storytellers as they unpack the future of film, streaming, technology, and content creation. Expect insightful panel discussions, practical masterclasses, and conversations about where the creative industry is heading both locally and globally. Whether you're a professional, a student, or simply passionate about film, the JBX talks provide real knowledge and real network opportunities. Be part of the dialogue at the Joburg Film Festival. Secure your seat today by visiting joburgfilmfestival.co.za.
702.
The car feature.
It's the car feature with our technical expert, Nicole Lowe. I'm taking your calls. What car questions do you have? Technical questions about your vehicle. Of course, Nicole is here to take those questions. Get in touch with us, 011-883-0702, 072-702-1702. Here's a question. Someone says, "Hi team, I replaced my front tires recently and now feel a vibration at high speeds. Is it the tires or could it be the suspension? How can I fix it?" Nicole?
Okay, so if the only variable is the new tires, it definitely points to a wheel balance issue. I don't think the suspension is not something that will happen overnight. So if it was something suspension related, you should have the listener should have felt it with the old tires as well. It's just weird that the tire shop would not balance the wheel correctly. So I would take it back to the tire shop where you bought the tires. Let them recheck the wheel balance on those wheels, because that's probably what gives you the vibration. Normally, an imbalance on the wheel, on the front wheels especially, you will feel through the steering wheel, and it normally will be at a certain speed. So it doesn't matter if it's power on, power off, brakes on, brakes off. If you're at that speed, you will feel the vibration through the steering wheel, and that definitely points to balance. Sometimes what you feel through the steering wheel, if you're on the brakes, you can feel what they call a brake shudder, and that can also give you the vibration through the steering wheel, but that's only while you brake. So then you know it's the disc brakes on the front wheels that need replacement or skimming. But if it's happening just while you're coasting at that speed, that's definitely wheel balance.
All right. Someone else here asking, what's the best value for money 6-seater you recommend?
Sorry, value for money?
6-seater. So they're looking for a 6-seater. That's
six-seater.
best value for money, yes.
Okay, that's interesting. Most of the vehicles are either a 7-seater or a 5-seater. So, yeah, car advice, there's a lot of vehicles out there. If you're looking at budget sort of pricing for 7-seaters, you're looking at probably the lower end of the like Suzuki Ertiga range. That's a nice 7-seater for value for money. But in that ballpark, there's quite a few other vehicles as well. So budget does play a role. I mean, then you're talking about probably around the 500,000 and below range. Most of the 7-seaters, the luxurious 7-seaters, you will find closer to $1 million if you're looking for luxurious, or even over $1 million. So it's all budget dependent.
All right. Okay. I hope that's helpful. I always also, it's you're looking for I think it's a reliable car, but also it's the best value for money, right? So I think it's and
then it's also the petrol head that wants something that's fun and interesting and fast.
Yes,
and looks nice.
That performs well.
There's always that conflicting requirements.
All right. Let's take a voice note.
Hi, I'm listening to your guy talk about cars you should buy when you retire. If you want absolute reliability, get a Jeep Wrangler with a 4-liter inline motor, inline 6-cylinder motor. It swallows fuel like a drunken alcoholic, but you cannot break it. Those things run to 500,000 miles. Otherwise, buy a car with a Chevy 350 block in it. Cheap to fix, cheap to maintain. Things go wrong, you can buy a whole new engine and gearbox for 15,000 Rand, put it in. The parts are cheaper too, and you can import them from the US really, really easy. Anybody can maintain them. This is Jeremy.
Nicole, Jeremy says a Jeep Wrangler. I think that's more on the expensive side, no?
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a petrol head there. So he obviously likes his cubic capacity and the sounds and so on.
Yeah.
So obviously the running cost on something like that will be horrendous, but you will smile all the way. My bet for something that's reliable that will keep on going forever, and I think there's a lot of listeners out there will agree, is basically a Toyota Hilux. That thing you can't break. It will be better fuel consumption like the Wrangler. It probably won't put a smile on your face like that, but yeah, we know as South Africans we love our buckies. We've seen Hiluxes with million kilometers on the clock. But yeah, as I say, the Japanese vehicles tend to be more reliable. They maybe not as fancy and not so many gadgets, but value for money, the Japanese vehicles, I think at retirement age, that's where you should look at. But if you find the finances allow you to have something fun, then you can buy what you want, but have that as your second vehicle.
All right, let's take some of your calls. I see them coming in. Sasha, you're in Pretoria. Thank you for your call. Go ahead.
Yes, I'd like to know. My husband absolutely loves his Nissan Patrol, but he took it in for a service yesterday, and he said to me, it looks as if Nissan's leaving the building. So in that type of range, what would you suggest? If you love, when you put your foot down, real petrol head, love the big body, we're a big family, but also not in the Alex type of price range.
All right, Nicole?
Yeah, so on the SUV side, we love our SUVs in South Africa. The Nissan Patrol, obviously it's that large vehicle. It's got that big V8 naturally aspirated petrol engine. But you're talking about now close to 2 million, I think, retail for. In that space, you will find your Land Cruiser 300s. You'll find a bit more expensive is your Lexus LX 700H, those kind of vehicles. A similar vein, because a guy that buys a petrol wants something that's reliable and something that will go forever, and you can also go off-road. Those type of vehicles don't really compare to the German equivalent SUVs, like the X5s and X7s and Mercedes GLE and GLS. They're more luxury orientated. They probably ride better, but if you go through Africa, you'll be in a Patrol or a Land Cruiser. So I would in that if that's what you like, look at the Land Cruiser 300 Lexus LX side of things as well.
All right. I hope that was helpful, Sasha. Let's go to Cheryl in Bryanston. Cheryl, you own a Polo Vivo, and I think, depending on when it's from, that's a classic. It's a South African staple.
Oh, really? Nice to think about it that way, but yeah, the guys want my headlights, so if they steal my car, they want the headlights.
Shame. Yes, go ahead. What's your question?
Okay, I've got a boot actuator lock problem. Sometimes I can get the boot open and sometimes I can't. So it clearly needs to be, the lock I think needs to be replaced. What is your advice?
Nicole, any advice for Cheryl?
I can't remember on the boot actuator. It's actually, I can't remember if it's a mechanical device or electric device or it's got a cable. But I think it's actually a mechanical device that you can open it with a remote, can't you? The boot, or you have to put a key in.
I can with a remote, yes, and the remote is not talking to the.
Yeah, so it's an electromechanical device, yes. So best is to have it checked out. To diagnose it on the phone is a bit difficult because a couple of things can go wrong. But I would guess the locking mechanism is probably the first thing to start off with. But I wouldn't take it to. I don't think you should take it to a VW specialist, a VW dealer. Maybe that's a specialist type place. Even places that do body repair work and so on, they might even know what's wrong. It might be an issue that's out there. But the service centers, they don't deal with that so often. So I would, to save money, I'll go to VW specialist or even go and ask like the body shops because they also deal with that a lot.
Okay, well, thank you for that, Nicole. All right.
Thank you for your call,
you.
Cheryl. All right.
Pleasure. Thanks. Bye.
Bye. All right. I do see some of your WhatsApps coming in and your calls coming in. So let's try and get through some of them. Someone here saying, why does insurance not want to pay for tire bubbles? I'm not sure what tire bubbles are, Nicole.
Yeah, I think what he means is sometimes on the side walls you get, normally shouldn't happen by itself, but say you hit a curbstone with a tire and it damages, you almost get like a delamination on the sidewall of the tire where the rubber pulls away from the carcass. And there's also some air that then forces that bubble out. So it really looks like a bubble that's under the rubber on the sidewall, which is obviously dangerous because if it pops, then obviously you lose all the pressure in the tire and it's damaged the integrity of the tire. But I don't know what insurance will actually cover tires because your normal car insurance will not deal with tires. Normally insurance won't deal with any of the wear items, but obviously it looks at damage on the car and then some of these aftermarket warranties that you can get on the powertrain and so on. It won't deal with wear items, like it sees tires as a wear item, it sees your brakes as a wear item. If it's a manual car with a clutch, it sees the clutch plate as a wear item. It won't fall under the warranty conditions, unfortunately.
Oh, all right. I hope that's helpful. Yeah, I think I've had issues with my insurance in the very beginning when I got a car. I didn't know that my tires were not covered, and yeah, things didn't end very well.
What the person can try is maybe contact the tire manufacturer directly because there might be if there's something inherently wrong with the tire construction, you might get lucky there. But they might probably just tell you, no, you damaged the driving up a curbstone or something, and it's so difficult to prove if you've not done that.
Yeah, I was about to say, what are the prospects of success? I mean, going back to the tire company, is she likely to win?
No, it's so difficult to say, but it's something to try because remember, each tire has got a serial number, it's got a manufacturing date. So, say for example, something went wrong and there's tires that went out with the incorrect spec or something, they will know about it, and maybe the person will get lucky and then they replace it. But obviously, there's no guarantee on that.
All right, Nicole Lowe, that's all we have time for this afternoon. Thank you so much. Great chatting to you.
Thank you. Keep well.
All right, that's Nicole Lowe, a tire expert. When your business needs strength, reliability, and serious capability, look no further than the Peugeot Professional Pickup range. Built tough for South African conditions, Peugeot pickups are engineered for fleets, professionals, and the agriculture heroes who keep this country moving, rather. From a rugged load capacity to fuel-efficient performance, these pickups work as hard as you do. Whether you're building, delivering, or farming, Peugeot has a model that's ready for the job. Visit your nearest Peugeot dealership today and power your business with the confidence of Peugeot Professional. Landtrek, it's pretty but tough.
The Money Show.
Weekday evenings at 6.
Oil prices, gold prices up significantly since the start of the US and Israeli bombing campaign on Iran. Markets, in a way, reacting as you would expect.
One of the big unknowns is whether this escalates further, how long it lasts. So there is an element of risk premium being built in as well. So traditionally, some of the more volatile parts of markets have been hit a bit harder than others.
John Stopford is the head of multi-asset income at 91.
The Money Show
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
The Money Show with Stephen Grootes is brought to you by Absa Corporate and Investment Banking. Refined performance is a measure of discipline. That's how we are invested in your story and why Absa returned as a proud diamond sponsor for this year's Hedge News Africa Symposium and Awards Ceremony. Absa is a registered FSP. T's and C's apply.
Mzansi, Powerball and Powerball Plus are making it rain lots of cash this March, with a big 102 million rand in total estimated jackpots this Tuesday. Don't delay, play Powerball for an estimated 68 million rand and Powerball Plus for an estimated 34 million rand today. Buy your tickets now in store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app or cell phone banking. Panda, Pusha, Play. Players must be 18 years or older. Play responsibly. Ituba is the proud operator of the National Lottery. All right, it is 3 o'clock. Thank you so much for tuning in. It is the end of 702 Afternoons. My name is Khomotso Modise. I've been in for Relebogile Mabotja. Thank you so much for your contributions. It's time now for the news. Goodbye.
This is EWN.
Government commits to supporting workers at a collapsed Omonde site, and Thabo Bester loses another bid to be transferred out of Epongweni.